I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. You just can't call it to order before the time that's posted, even though several times are posted, I guess. Okay. Vandenbrink,
Present.
Orgula,
Here.
Gatsky,
Here.
Sorensen here. Jolene Schatzinger will be coming in late, and I will let you know. Oh, Doug?
I'm here.
Yeah, I'll let you know when Jolene comes in. We also have the chief and the assistant chief here.
Deputy chief.
Deputy chief.
Is Gary Page there?
No.
I saw him in a truck today.
So,
Just slow down. Just slow down.
so I would entertain a motion to approve an amended agenda to remove the closed session from this meeting, because there is no update.
I'll move to approve the agenda, striking the closed session.
Thank you, Jonathan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Public comment. We have no one here from the public. Not that you're really not the public, Riley. We consider you a citizen.
Am I an ex officio member?
Not really.
No, I'm not that either.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to approving the secretary reports. We have the minutes of the June 7th meeting and the July 5th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 7th and July 5th as presented.
Thank you, Barry. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? Doug, could I ask a favor? When you do
Sure.
the minutes, you have minutes of the Ripon Area Fire District meeting. Below that, could you put the day of the week, the date, and the year underneath that?
Sure.
Okay, because it helps me to see it in big letters.
Okay, I'll see what you're talking about. I'll do that in the future.
So like this one.
Okay, yeah, so like the one I did.
Oh, you did that.
I did these minutes. So, is there any other discussion about the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Okay, treasurer's report.
You're gonna have to wait. I don't have anything to do to report. I'm just getting into doing this with Barb, and I need to talk to Jim yet.
Oh, okay.
About doing some of the write-offs and collections and stuff and see what was going on with that. So I'll make that a priority in the next couple of weeks to talk to Jim.
Okay, so I have some questions about these reports, so can I ask you, Chief?
Yeah, I was gonna talk, but I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. I just had, I think, one question on operations fund for revenues. We're budgeted, let's see, it was for inspection fees, operation charges for service, fire inspection fees. The actual period is $100. The budgeted amount is $40,000. Does that all come in like in a lump sum?
So the inspection fees are, collected off of the taxes.
So they haven't come in yet?
They haven't come in yet.
When do they?
That comes in, I'd have to ask Barb, but I wanna say usually by July or August, we have those inspection
So
fees.
it comes in a lump in
I believe so,
July or August?
yes. I'd have to ask Barb. That would be a better question for Barb.
Okay,
But fire inspection or fire prevention fees, like that $100,
yeah,
you know, that was off the fee sheet that we'll go over in a little bit, that could have been for a hydro test or something like that. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So there's inspection fees, but then there's fire prevention fees on top of the inspection fees.
Okay,
We'll go over all that. I think that'll answer your question.
okay, okay. All right, and I can see that the fire, the fire protection fees from municipalities, you've received all of that for the year. You must receive it in 2 different payments.
It does come in different payments.
Okay.
But I just deposited a couple checks, one from you, one from the city, and yours was deposited before those 2. So, yeah, but they come in different payments.
Okay, yeah, usually they're split, but I just wanted to double check on it. That's why I was confused about the fire inspection fees.
Yep.
So it comes in as a lump. Okay, and just, is that door unlocked out there? So Jolene can get in when
Should
she
be,
gets
yeah.
here?
I'll
Okay,
check.
thanks. So I think that was the only question I had.
Well, and as far as the outstanding collectibles is what we were talking about, the write-offs and everything. So I did get some in recently, and I deposited those funds in the bank. But I just want to let you guys know that one of the checks was, like, somebody paid their fee for a car accident, and there was a note in it. The note said, well, we were told by an ex-firefighter, if our insurance doesn't pay, we don't have to pay. And it's like, no, I checked with Jim. Jim's like, no, it's never been anything like that. That some ex-firefighters telling somebody that. On the check it had on there, where the notes was, it said, I hope you're happy now.
And you are.
And, well, I mean, in case somebody gets a complaint or something that
Yeah.
we went ahead and deposited that, that's what we did what we're supposed to do.
So, okay, so the balance is like, you have the balance due over here, and then you have over 150, does that mean over 150 days past due?
On the collectibles.
Yes.
Yeah, hang on one second. Yes, yes. So what I do is, we do put pressure on those businesses to pay that.
Pardon my tardiness.
Gary Page just came in, add him to the roll call. Thank you, Gary.
We do work with the businesses to get them paid when we're going out to do inspections. So hopefully those businesses will catch up.
Because that's a lot of money.
Hopefully those businesses catch up. The residential ones, that's beyond my control. There's nothing we can do about those.
Okay.
I know that 4663 in the bottom, they just called, actually, I just looked at the name, 4663, she just called because there was a mix-up with her insurance. So she had a question, and I answered her question, she said she's gonna put it in for payment, so, and all that was coming in.
Okay. Well, so I guess we took care of the treasurer's report already.
Well, we gotta do accounts payable.
Okay, go ahead.
So on, for the accounts payable, I'll just go over a couple ones. The KZ Enterprises on the top and the bottom, the $15,000 and the $10,000, those were installment payments on the garage. So just in case somebody had a question. And then the drone equipment upgrade was funded. That was the last of the drone equipment upgrade. So that came out of the donation money. And then the one thing I did want to point out was emergency responder products. I got a bill from them, and it was dated in 2020. So I called them and I said, like, I just got this bill. And they said, well, we've been emailing it. So I said, what email address? They were using the wrong email address, but they've never sent the bill until now. So that's why I wanted to point that out. It was from 2020. We did receive the product, we did get it, but again,
What
I
is
sent
that?
it to a wrong email address.
It's charged the bottom, $424.
Yep. And,
Brewer heating.
yeah, oh, that was the other one. I have it right here. That was we were having trouble with the units out here in the bay floor, the exhaust units, and so that's what that was. But That's all I had to point out.
One more, BLS cards.
Oh, Gary, which one?
BLS cards. Mid-State Technical College,
That was $140 something. What was that?
$170.
Yeah, it was $170. It was for a card. It was for, I'm joking. It was for,
Well, you sent me one of those on my birthday.
it was for the members' CPR cards for recertification.
Oh, all right.
So. That's it.
DIH auto repair, where is that?
Come on, there was,
Freon oil and dye. Must have been.
yeah, there was a
air
Freon
conditioning.
leak, so they were looking for a Freon leak for the air conditioner and oil
Where
change.
is that? Is that in town here? Or?
Yeah, across from the high school.
High school,
Up by the St.
Up by the-
Wenceslas Church.
right by the St. Wenceslas Church there, that little triangle.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else?
Did you decide to go with those over, because you used to always go to Holman's or Bears,
I'm going to DIH as much as I can.
because it's a
I
lot.
have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have a question on the 2005 Pierce Coolant leak repair. How bad a leak was that?
The what?
The leak
For
repair,
Reinert's.
It was on the
Reiners.
Pierce, the 2005 Pierce Coolant leak
Reinert's,
repair. It was on
Reinert's,
one of the engines.
Renters.
Reinert's, sorry.
Oh, it was a coolant leak repair. I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
Is it becoming more common with the engines getting older?
Well, I was gonna wait till new business, but I might as well say it now. Yeah, I mean, equipment's, it's not that it's because of age, it just happens. So, today, we sent one of our engines in to get, new lights put on. And while it was there, I had him look at a power steering leak. The power steering, we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. It's coming from the power steering gearbox, which is a Pierce manufactured part only. And that Pierce manufactured part, between 2004 and 2010, when that engine was built, the parts were not very good. And they got it fixed and they got it figured out now, but that doesn't help anybody who had a rig during that year. So they've replaced a lot of those. Eden Fire Department just replaced theirs, $11,900
For a steering?
for a power steering gearbox. So it's just starting to
Can they-
leak.
can
He
they-
said, hopefully we can get through, and
Can they
hopefully we
repack
get through
those?
next year. What?
Can they repack those?
No. You cannot.
That's been a piss poor design.
So they've had issues with them, but again, they replaced a lot of them, and I think he didn't include that in his email, so.
Thanks, chief.
Doug, could you let the minutes show that Jolene Schatzinger has joined us?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And Chief is finishing up the treasurer's report.
Okay.
If you have any questions, this would be the time.
So again, it doesn't have to be fixed right now. It's starting to leak. It could last a week, it could last a year. I'm hoping to get through till January, but it's gonna have to be addressed, so.
I guess maybe a question related to that would be, a previous meeting, we had talked about how, engines right now are 3 years out, we had talked about. What about parts? Is it worth a call to Pierce to see, what if they're a year and a half out?
Yeah, they didn't indicate that to me when I talked to them.
Okay,
And Reynolds Fire Equipment in Marquezine does all Pierce repairs, and they do all our fire department repairs, that's who we use. They didn't indicate that to me, that there'd be a problem with the part. It was just a bad design, they got it fixed. Unfortunately, it affects a lot of vehicles out there, and they replaced a lot of them. So that's where we're at, and that's on our newest engine. So,
And it might stay fixed. We don't know that.
we're gonna have to fix it sooner or later, next year, we'll have to fix it. Can't just leave it, so.
Are there any more questions for the chief regarding the treasurer's report? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll make that motion. Accept the
Gary.
treasurer's report.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed,
Can you pass that?
thank you. Those opposed, same
Take one and
sign.
pass them around. Or you can pass them.
Before we move on, Gary and Jolene, we did amend the agenda to remove the closed session because there's no update to give.
Oh,
So, thank you. Are you available next Tuesday if we go into it?
I guess I'm just a slave to,
Hopefully this will be the last time. Jolene, are you available on Tuesday?
Tuesday, city council.
Wednesday, city council, it's election day.
Oh, I have a meeting at 6:30.
We could meet earlier.
Okay, sure,
Would-
if others are.
Would 5 work?
not for me,
No? Well, you don't want to come anyway.
that's true.
5:30? Does 5:30?
He doesn't want to come. We'll get to that later
Okay.
on in the meeting. So we'll do the chief's report now.
Fire inspection update, the progress, we're progressing, will be completed by November 1st. The goal is obviously to be completed earlier. Project update, garage is going well. There's nothing to report on the upstairs. As far as the grounds, we do have a piece of concrete or a concrete slab out front of our bay door that we can't use that bay door right now because the concrete's falling apart. I did ask for a quote on that from the same person who did the concrete for the garage, but I just have not gotten that back yet. So when he did look at it, he just said that, you know, when the garage was built, if they would have made these relief cuts, we wouldn't even have these cracks right now. But when the engine pulls out, that whole piece moves. I mean, it moves a lot. So it's gonna need to be replaced. And I just don't know what the cost of that's gonna be.
can they, don't they have to build a ramp up in the garage yet?
They did that already.
Yeah.
They did that already.
Otherwise, they could have done it at the same time.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even think of that. But that, I don't think that really would have saved us that much money from them already being here. So, anyway, so just letting you know that that's, next meeting I should have something on how much that's gonna cost. We'll have to figure that in at some point. Staffing update, we have 26 paid on call, 7 part-time paid on premise firefighters, and 3 cadets, for a total of 36, thank you. And one of our cadets is in,
Chief, how many part-time?
7,
7, okay.
and then 3 cadets. Did you get that?
Yes, I just missed the.
one cadet is currently in fire class, so that's good. And we'll be looking at adding a couple more part-timers for the ones who had left, so we knew that was gonna be a little turnaround. Call volume, you have the call volume report in front of you. It was a pretty busy month, and let's see, total calls for the month are 38, and we gave mutual aid 4 times, and we received it 3 times. You'll see some highlights on the bottom, Ripon Fest Standby Parade, hydrant checks. We went out and we started checking hydrants because we've had a few problems with those. We've now checked every hydrant in the city. I worked with the water department to give them a list of those hydrants that we're having issues with. So we're working hand in hand together with them to get those taken care of. But it was a big undertaking, and it was good to get that done, especially before winter time.
What, Doug?
I'm sorry, that's my wife. She has a hot dog for me.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, chief.
We did some real-time water rescue training, which was pretty impressive. The guys were into the victim from the time of call. We got out to the water in about 7 minutes, which was from the time of leaving here. Once they got there, it was within 3 minutes they were in the water. So it was pretty impressive. Due to the dry water, we've been frequently filling the gardens over there at the water tanks, or the water tanks for the gardens. Pardon me?
Riggs County Park?
Yes. So, we did 2 days of public education with the Ripon Boys and Girls Club. And then we attended some special aircraft training, fire and rescue training at Oshkosh Airport Fire Station. That's all I have. If you guys have questions.
Just one, that, you've got one cadet at school, is that make 4 cadets, or is that?
No, one
One
out
of
of
the
the, one out of the 3 are in class. The other one's not old enough, and the other one hasn't been able to go to class yet.
Gotcha.
So, you'll see I did highlight on the front of the call sheet. There was one call on 7/19 that was handled by North Fond du Lac Fire Department. That's because we were tied up at the garage fire, and when we have a fire, we have a mutual aid engine in here sitting in the fire station in case we get another call, and that's exactly what happened. So they handled that call by themselves. So, thank you to them. That's all I have.
I have a question
Mhm.
pertaining to our township.
Mhm.
Where were the 2 fires, the one on 7/14 and 7/19? Where in town that is?
Radke Road was.
Yep,
garage
Radke
fire.
Road was the garage fire, and
Brush fire was that an E?
the brush fire was on E, yeah. And I can't remember the name of that. I can look it up and give it to you.
It's before your house.
Yeah, it wasn't your house, I know that much. I'd have to look that up. I'd have to look at the call sheet.
Okay.
I could do that after this.
There's not a lot of many garages on Radke Road.
No, there's not.
It was
The one right
Radke.
next, the one right next to the road?
Yeah,
Yes,
Andy Radke's,
yeah,
that Radke's old place.
Okay.
yeah, it was his house. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Any
Yep.
other questions for the chief? Okay, so, we don't have anything listed under old business. New business, I put.
stop. Can we stop? Back to old business? Just
Oh,
real
okay.
quick, I just wanted to touch on, just to make sure everybody's aware of it, those lights that we're replacing on the engines. One was replaced on engine 14 has been complete, engine 16 has been complete, now the heavy squad is going to get its new lights put on. But when those bills come, I want everybody to know, we've been talking about this for a few months. And so the work's being done, so those bills will be coming in the next
They're headlights, right?
week. So, no, emergency lights.
Emergency.
Oh, emergency.
Yeah. Remember I had that piece that was all burnt up? And I showed you guys? And actually, when they took the headliner down in 14, all those wires were melted in there. Except that we're really lucky we didn't have another fire up there, so.
Well, you got the water in the back.
Yeah, right.
You put water on an electrical fire?
Car fire.
12 volts.
If it's turned off.
They haven't got the electric fire trucks yet.
Yeah, okay,
So that's all,
okay, all right.
Remind me, where in the agenda would we say, maybe it's in your report, being that it's summer, there's more community programming. I know that you do a lot of great public education. Are there any programs coming up that you know of for the rest of the summer? Or is there any, where would that, I guess, fall even under?
No, I mean, we do the public education as we get requests
Yeah.
for it. I mean, Septemberfest, we've been requested
be
for
there?
that, we'll be
Great.
there. But
Homecoming's coming up.
And, yeah, we do as much as we can.
Yeah.
I know that we were out on a fire call we were coming back from training last night, and there was a Payable school going on, and we were gonna stop there, but then we got tied up doing something else. So, we try to get out to kids as much as possible. So, if anybody wants public education, they just need to call the fire station, request it, and schedule it.
Great, thanks.
Okay, can we move on to new business now? Okay, well, you're gonna talk anyway.
Yeah.
So, last month, I know we've had too many meetings, but last month, we talked about different revenues. And so on the opposite end of that are the expenditures. So I just put it on the agenda tonight so that the chief can share with us what typical expenditures are. I'm a policy one, I'm not an operations person. So you're the operations person, and so can you share with us about how the money is spent? You spend it on wages and?
Yeah, I mean, I hope I hope I'm gonna give you what you're looking for, and we can obviously have questions. But our budget is total operational budget. When we talk later about the capital improvement plan, you'll see what I'm talking about. But, you know, the budget, whether it's operations, it's, goes into salaries, part-time salaries, full-time salaries. It covers vehicle maintenance, our trainings, our equipment, any equipment we need. It covers our fuel, it covers anything operationally that we need to do. Now, I'm trying to think of a building maintenance. It has a building maintenance component to it. So, you know, if it's a $10,000 repair for building maintenance, that's like out of my realm of my budget. That's something I've got to bring to you guys because it's really not operational at that point. But mechanical work to fire engines, that's an operational thing. So, you know, there's a lot of components that go in that, and you can help me here if you want.
You were jumping in on all that I thought I was.
You know, whether it's professional services, the attorney, our physicals, annual physicals for firefighters, or employee assistance programs, that comes out of professional services. Physicals.
Part of being a government entity too, for payroll, it's not just payroll, it's the Wisconsin retirement system, it's health
Correct.
insurance.
It's all the benefits.
Federal and state taxes, so it's all the benefits too. And I think, isn't your allocation for public safety a higher percentage of salary, I know law enforcement is, than those of us who worked in administration. So it's a higher percentage that goes into Wisconsin retirement than
So right now, with
typically.
all that taken in consideration, it's a little bit over 55%, or it's probably closer to 60%. I know the police department budget, for example, I've talked to a police chief before, like 80% of his budget is salaries. Normally, about 80 to 85% of a budget, of an operating budget, is salaries. Obviously, we haven't been to that point. Obviously, we're gonna probably get to that point. But obviously, we need to allocate monies from other places. I've already been looking at the budget for next year, where we can move funds from to pay for that. Things that aren't gonna hurt our department, things that we still need, but we need to find another way, right? So whether it's grants or it's moving, reallocating money, funds for those things, increasing our revenues to offset that, which we've already done that, so I don't feel that we need to do that again, because we just did that last year. And so, but, yeah, did that answer your questions, or does anybody have questions? Like,
Well, are all the volunteer fire department people, they aren't in the state thing, are they?
No.
No, not the
So
volunteers.
actually, you're the only guy that's in there.
It's only
well, but
No.
there will be one or two others that get there too, just from the
Number of hours.
part-time program we're at. You know, and we talked about that when we talked about the part-time program. There's gonna be, just like EMS has, 2 or 3 people who are part-time and in that, they're our key people. So they're in that retirement system. We were gonna be in the same boat with 2 or 3 people that are gonna be in that. So, and we talked about that. That was in the minutes. But no, all the people are not in it.
You know,
Just like EMS, not everybody's in it. The chief, and I think he's got 3 other people who are, but that's it. The police department, obviously, because they're full-time, everybody's in it. So, any other questions? Like, yeah, I think that's, I kind of touched on it. If you,
I mean, all the utilities too, I mean, so it's, you know,
Yeah.
anything that you would normally pay for, you know, owning a building or a house, you're gonna, you know, we have
Well,
some of those
Alliant
same.
was a $600 bill for
Yeah.
July or whatever, and so, yeah, and utilities have gone up also, and gas has gone up even though you don't pay tax on gas.
wait till winter.
and all of those, and, you know, all those things, the utilities are pretty close to average every year. Like they fluctuate a little bit up, but not crazy. But whether it's fuel, and shutting our real vehicles off when we're not using them, like at training last night, we shut our vehicles
Your
off.
vehicles aren't diesel, are they?
They are.
They are, so
Yeah.
diesel's very expensive
Most of
right
them are diesel.
now. Okay,
But like last night, we had a training, we were out for 2 hours, we shut the rig off to save it, you know, we're doing what we can, but we can't not do our job either. So, turning lights off, just little things like that we try to do, but it's part of doing business, I guess. So, go ahead, Jolene, did you?
No, I guess I was just thinking that, I know that you said there are going to be a few key people that may go over those hours and then get into the retirement realm. I also know you talked about in the past that, you know, you are paying attention to that though, and you're trying to spread it out, because we do have the 7 paid on premise, and so I know that you had said you're trying to spread that out if
Yeah.
you can, but I guess it's based on their availability too.
Well, and some of those, like, you know, like EMS has 2 or 3 key people who are like, they take all the on-call time, they're their key people, and they're their officers, so they can't, we're kind of the same way, you know? Our total part-time people, Barb and I are keeping an eye on that, I don't think anybody's close to that.
Okay.
It's our paid on-call who are
Got
helping
it.
out,
I
working the
see.
system.
I thought you were talking about paid
No.
on premise. It's a paid on.
Well, they're
Could
paid on
be,
call,
yes.
working the
Right.
paid on premise also. So they don't only have their on-call hours, but they also have the paid on premise part-time hours. So, and, you know, as we talked about before when we did this whole thing, like Lake Delton, you know, when they went to do a part-time program, because they were having the same problem, all their paid on call started working the part-time program. And it's like, well, why are we doing this? You know, our paid on call are here, but they're not available, but now that we're working part-time, they are. Well, you know, and he was upset as I was, and it just, you know, like he said, you can't expect somebody to sit at home and do nothing. If they're committed to it, they're committed to it. We had a long talk about it. I don't want to go back and talk about this whole thing again, but if you guys got questions, come see me, you know? I mean, I can talk about it then. So, Ellen, did that answer your question? I'm
it
sorry.
did, it was very helpful.
Okay.
Does anybody else have questions for the chief? I mean, you 3 know all this stuff. Doug's been on before, I'm the newbie.
The one thing I want to say though is, if you have questions, come and see me, ask. And, you know, this whole budget, every single penny of this budget, anything I spend, I can't spend something without you guys knowing about it.
Right.
Because it has to go to Barb has to pay it, and then you guys get to see it. It's not like I'm cutting checks and.
No, that's not.
No,
what
I
we're
know that,
talking
but
about.
what I'm saying is, you guys always see what's paid here.
Yeah, but I find
sometimes,
a
go
lot
ahead.
of elected officials don't always break it down, like Jolene shared with us that somebody from the county board told them that doesn't matter, and it does matter what the elected.
I don't know if I said
officials-
that. My point was, in the past, I've been told that you're not necessarily approving a treasurer's report because it's already been spent.
You're approving the expenditures.
You're saying that you're approving it as presented to be included in our official record, was my understanding, but maybe I misunderstood this. So again, I don't want to maybe I need to understand that better, but my point was, at the point that you are bringing forth a treasurer's, you know, the report to us, that's already been spent, so we can't necessarily approve it for future spending. It's already been spent.
Can I throw my 2 cents in? The way I look at it is, yes, you're kind of right. It's already been spent, right? So you're not approving me spending it. You're just approving it and saying, okay, I have questions or I don't have questions.
Right.
If you have questions, it's already spent. Does that make sense? I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
trying to,
I mean, I get that, I'm just
But
saying.
we approve the budget, they spend the budget, but we approve how they spend the budget. We have to approve it. It's our
It's a
fiscal.
checks and balance.
It's our fiscal responsibility as the elected folk. They're the administrative people, we're the elected folks, and so we have to take care of the finances. So yes, it has been spent, but we're approving those expenditures.
The expenditures have to be expenses that are actually used for the fire department. And that's basically what you're looking at, is to make sure that we're not buying stuff that we shouldn't be buying
Right.
and spending
There
that
you
money.
go, that's better.
Yeah, and we don't want to lose our credit rating, and that's why they have to be paid on time.
Mhm.
That's the problem, we can't wait.
Go ahead.
So when we get the accounts payable, like in the township, none of the bills get paid until they're approved at the town meeting. We're giving you the approval to pay it, or are they already paid before we give the?
They're already paid.
They're already paid.
Because what happens is we get a lot of bills that have just a few,
Net 10,
10
net
day, net
15.
10, net 15, and if we've already had the services done, and we don't meet for another 25 days, and we got a net 10 bill, you know, we have to get it paid, or we're gonna pay interest on top of it, and then we're spending more money.
Yeah, and I think,
Then we need to-
like in town government, it's much easier to do that. And that, in a perfect world, would be how it would be done. But as you get to larger and larger entities, you don't want to compromise your tax, your good standing with bill payment. So that's why it's like, we're doing it after the fact, but we're still checking over all the financials, making sure that it's done correctly.
And the city, correct me if I'm wrong, the city does it the same way.
So
The
do
police
counties,
chief
so do counties.
pays his bills,
Yep.
every fire department I've worked for, that's the way it's
Yep.
done. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
I'm just checking, because I know none of our bills get paid until we approve it
Yeah,
at
I-
Yeah.
a board meeting.
Yeah.
We used to
And
be
and
that
a lot
way,
of times
but
it is
some-
passed
now we're
through,
getting
but,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
nothing's
The bigger
ever
you
said
get,
about it. You know.
And
Yeah.
the other thing is, businesses aren't the same. We used to say, hey, you know, you can send us a bill, but we don't meet till then, you're not
Yeah.
getting paid till then. Now they don't care. Fine, just pay
yeah.
the
Service
difference,
charge.
the service charge.
But what we are doing is approving those, we have to approve those expenditures. He's authorized to pay the bills, but we approve the bills. And it is backwards.
it's backwards, but there's a lot of, there's checks and balances.
Yep.
You still, nothing still gets by like being paid that shouldn't be paid.
Right.
You know, and like, again, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or different, but any fire department or police department I've ever known, that's the way it is.
Well, credit rating is very important when you're a larger entity. Because nobody will want to do business with you if you don't pay your bills on time.
Correct.
So, are
Did I
there,
answer your questions?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Any other questions?
Good.
Oh, yeah. No, I always have been, good. I think it's always good for us to revisit how that process works, and,
Sure. It's good that everybody's on the same page.
mhm.
I like that.
Okay, if there are no more questions on that, I think we have to, no, we don't have to do anything, that was informational. I'm going to pass this up. Chief, I don't know if you found anything for a consulting firm for a 5-year strategic plan?
I did,
Okay, you have that information?
somewhat.
Okay.
So, obviously, there's a lot that goes into this.
They're all the same.
I'm gonna just, if you can take one of these and just pass it around. This was we talked about the 5-year capital strategic plan.
Yeah.
And this is what we've always had. I adjusted some dates in there. And again, we've always had this, it's never gone anywhere.
Oh, wait a minute, this is a capital improvement
It's
plan.
capital improvement,
No, we're
correct?
talking about the strategic plan.
Okay,
That's different.
okay.
We were gonna look at different.
I did.
Okay, that's what we're talking
Okay.
about right now.
Sorry, I should have started off this first. So I reached out to the Wisconsin fire chiefs. I did not make copies of all this for everybody, and I will email these to you. But we talked about different firms. The firms, one of them, I got 3 of them here actually. Jackson Fire Department did a study, Baraboo did a study, and Oshkosh did a study. Before we can even get anything, we kind of need to know what we want to include in the study. The Jackson Fire Department, I wanted to give everybody kind of an idea of what it would cost to have a firm come in and do this. But Jackson, they budgeted $15,000 and they ended up spending $30,000. Baraboo was $36,000 and Oshkosh could not give me his what it cost them at this point. But there's 3 different firms that were used here, so I don't know where we want to go.
Which
I'm
firms
hoping-
did they use?
So the one used Matrix, Oshkosh used Matrix Consulting Group. They said they were very good. The Baraboo Fire Department used Center for Public Safety Management. And they said if you are the Baraboo chief said if you have anybody in the city council or the city that is a member there, that you would be able to get a discount, because that's what they did. They gave them a discount because they had a member in there. And then
Firm again for Baraboo?
Center for Public Safety Management. And Jackson. Can you search for Jackson's in there? I know it's in there. And then also, I did talk to the retired chief of Oshkosh, and because I know he does some consulting work. He actually works for Public Administration Associates, and I asked him today, I said, what do you think about a ballpark? And he said, you're looking probably at 20 to 30. So, you know, Public Administrations Associates is a local firm. I think it was out of Oshkosh, it's out of Milwaukee now. So, so we have some options, and those are, you know, each one of those departments that had it done, had it completed, spoke highly about their firms. So I don't think one's really better than the other. It's just, it's a lot of money. And I thought maybe the Oshkosh chief could do it, you know, for us as a department, but with him working for Public Administration Associates, we would have to go through them if we wanted him to do it.
So we have 4 possible firms. The firm I presented to you did the EMS study for the city of Ripon.
And do you know what that costs?
You know, I don't. I'll find out. The reason I thought this might be useful is because they won't have to do a lot of the footwork. They already know the community. Because they've already done the community as a whole, they would be able to come in and do the fire district without a lot of the legwork, because the legwork's been done. So I think,
Well, I will add that I think that's really helpful if they're gonna give us a discount.
yeah.
But if they're not gonna give us a discount, then it'd be nice to have
Yeah,
someone
but
else do the work.
We don't know until we go out for a request for proposals.
I see
We
what
could
you're
go limit it to these 4 firms, but we have to write the request for proposal.
Right.
Would Jackson or Baraboo, Oshkosh is not a comp.
It's not a
It's not a
comparable.
comp.
It's not, but
But would Jackson and Baraboo share their RFP with you, so how they wrote it, and then we can look at it and tailor it for us?
I did get Baraboo's.
Oh, okay,
It was 148 pages,
yeah,
so I didn't print it off.
no, don't
I
print it
wanted
out.
I wanted to make sure that, it's kind of one of those things, like, hey, go out and do this, but I don't have the authority and the approval and where we're going to
Right.
say, hey, what's it gonna cost us? You
Yeah,
know,
well, that's why we have to go
That's
out for
why
an
the RFP,
RFP,
yes.
yeah.
So, that's why I was waiting to discuss
Yeah,
that tonight.
so
But
we can do this as an action item to have the chief begin working on an RFP and bring it to the next meeting.
And I think the scary thing with that is, I think everybody here has to know that that's not saying we're doing it.
Right,
It's not saying
right,
we're spending the money, it's so just going out and saying, hey,
right,
give us a proposal, this is
Right.
what we want.
right, and the cost, and if it's cost prohibitive, then we talk about that.
But I don't know what EMS paid for theirs.
I'll see if I can find
I
out.
don't think it was, I wish I knew.
Were you guys on the board when EMS did it?
We were.
Yes.
I don't remember the cost.
No, I'd hate to state something that would be
It's
wrong.
probably in the budget.
I do remember also that I thought the reason why EMS, this also was a part of the reason why the city went with it, is that I think our city administrator had a good experience with this organization at his previous.
He did, and I have full disclosure, I worked with Dana Seckler
Hold on, it's
when
not-
he was the fire chief in North Fond du Lac.
Okay,
So that's my disclosure. I know Dana. He might not remember me, but I've done a lot of stuff. I know a lot of fire chiefs, so. So could I have a motion to have the chief begin to prepare a draft RFP?
I move to have our fire department, should I say fire chief,
Well, chief and deputy chief, or
To have our-
however he wants to
Chief,
do
To have
it.
our-
that doesn't-
to have our fire department leadership
Yeah,
draft a RFP,
for a 5-year strategic.
for a
plan.
5-year strategic plan, for a 5-year fire district plan.
Yeah, strategic.
EMS, EMS was roughly 26,000.
Okay. Now, it should be less for us.
And that was-
They already know everything about the communities.
Yeah, and that was from EMS chief.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a second to Jolene's?
A second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Is there further discussion? Are you getting all this, Doug? Doug?
Yeah.
Are you
Yes,
getting?
I am. I like that.
Okay, okay. Are there any questions for the chief or the deputy chief about developing an RFP? Do you think we can have a draft by the September meeting, chief?
I'll work on it, it's up to those, you know, I'll tell them that that's when we need it by, but,
No, you're gonna write an RFP and bring it back to us, and then it'll go out.
oh, okay,
We're gonna approve the RFP,
yes,
yeah, and then we'll send it to these 4 firms.
okay.
Because I think, just so everybody on the fire district sees the RFP before it's sent out.
I'm 1,000,000% agree.
So I guess what we're saying is also, this would ideally go out when the agenda is sent out, so that we would have it before the meeting.
And if you email it at 140 pages, then you're not printing it for everybody.
That's what the RFP is gonna be, 40?
Hopefully not.
Huh,
I can't, I'm sorry.
No.
You know how I feel about this crap anyway, and
That
that
was the
just
report, wasn't it?
I don't
boggles
want
my
it to be
mind.
that
That
long.
was the report, wasn't it?
correct.
Can
That
you-
was the report that was that
The
long.
Oh,
100,
the report was
the
that.
report was on
Oh,
that,
Yes.
yes.
okay, the RFP could be 3 pages.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's probably only 3 or 4
You
pages.
could probably
yeah.
look at
Correct.
the EMS one too.
Correct.
I could do it 3 or 4 pages.
And then if we approve it on the 6th, it could go out on the 7th.
I do have a question, but maybe it doesn't matter because it doesn't help to look backwards, but I just think to myself, if the service that we had for EMS in the city could also have been appropriate for our fire district, why did we not look at it at that time? And maybe that's for me, obviously, as I previously served now on this district, but I guess I'm disappointed that that wasn't something that perhaps I thought of, or that, that any of us, not any of us, some people weren't here, that we brought forward, or that we knew about. Or I think, why didn't, I don't know, I guess if that's something when chiefs talk, what's happening, could other areas, could other departments benefit from that? Anyways, my
I think
thoughts.
it was before I joined too. It was ongoing when I joined. And I think it was like pushed forward quickly, because that was right when the new chief of the EMS started, and he needed, a little more something to go with. So I think it was, you're the new chief now, we're gonna do this, it'll help you out,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember that. I just think that, I'm just glad that we are now forward thinking and thinking about, again, how we can save money and connections. Great.
Okay, if there's no other conversation about this, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. It's approved. Thank you, everyone. Now, the chief has some proposed changes to policies and procedures. Fee structure, oh, did you want to talk about capital? Did you want to talk about capital improvements?
I just wanted you guys to have this, so
Okay.
that it's on your mind.
You know, I want to put,
So,
let's put
because
this on.
budget time's coming.
Yeah, let's put this on for September 6th, and then Jolene's suggestion about the new truck, purchasing a new truck on that agenda for next time. You're talking about the old age of the trucks earlier in the meeting?
I don't know if I remember that.
The steering box on the truck that was going bad, power steering box.
So I brought up the fact that in the past, if we
Right.
if we needed to order things, there's a delay,
Yeah.
also because of the pandemic
Yeah.
ongoing and supply chain. And so it's important that I think we are looking ahead
Yes.
at what we might need. I mean,
Yes.
that's what I
Yeah,
did.
no, you,
Yes.
yes, you were right.
Yes.
She was more
Because
about
it's,
the.
it used to take a year to get a fire truck,
Before the
Yeah.
truck.
now it takes over 2 years to get a fire truck.
Yeah,
And the prices are going up, they're not, and if you look at that, this, where it says the cost of a new engine, I had $700,000, when I did this in 2019. And now it's $900,000 for an engine.
So I think we'll talk
So-
about that truck, purchasing a truck, that truck, and then the 5-year capital improvement plan on September 6th. Is that,
wouldn't that be a part of it, right? Or no?
is that on here?
Yes,
Is a replacement on
is
here?
the highlighted engine 11, it
Okay.
says.
Engine 11?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you read the highlighted thing, the highlighted section,
So that's the
you'll
replacement.
you'll
engine.
understand it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll put that on the September 6th agenda. And then the chief has some proposed policy and procedure changes for us. One will be fee structure and the next will be some language for hiring.
So I'm gonna first pass out the current fee structure that we use. Take one and pass that around. And then this is to go along with that. This is just a note to follow along. I know there's been some discussion whether people have what's current and don't. So what I did was, I took district policies that we currently have, I put them together for you, and so that you can, as we go through, so like tonight, we're gonna talk about one or two proposed changes, and so you can make your notes right in here, and this is yours to keep.
Oh, Mark,
Okay.
I guess I will take one because he's got the reference. I didn't bring mine. Sorry.
Not a problem.
So, we'll start on page 2, and that's the fee schedule. So on page 2, number 1, the general fee schedule, and it talks about those are our inspection fees. Those are not what we currently use. The current structure, or the current inspection fees are located on the bottom of your fee structure sheet, okay? So, number 1 in the general fee structure is related to fire inspections. And you'll see that that's changed over the years, and it's not current in the bylaws. So the recommendation is
I
to
have a question. As you've increased these fees over the years, has the body approved those
Absolutely.
fee increases?
yes,
Okay, good.
I am not authorized to increase
Thanks.
fees of anything.
Just check.
So, so all these
But
fees,
real quick, wouldn't that be covered when we go over the budget? When we approve the budget, I mean, those are part of the budget,
Okay.
right? I mean, isn't that part of the
so
annual?
let me explain. let me explain. So, we have a fee structure, right? This fee structure, when I came here, was in place for, I don't know how long. Probably,
Since the inception.
okay, so after being here for a year, we increased fees. Then we added fees. So we added, a couple of years later, we added these fees. A couple of years later, we added these fees. Over the last 10 years, we've added these fire prevention duties. We never had that before, okay? So when we go out and we do a hydro test, it's $100 for us to go out and do a hydro test, okay? That has to do with your sprinkler system. Now, if we go out there and it fails and we have to go out another day because they got leaks in their system or whatever, that's another $100 fee to them. If we go out and we check it and then we come back and we have to recheck it after 2 hours, it has to hold. So when we come back in 2 hours and recheck it, we don't charge them another $100. It's just for that one time. So I can go through each and every one of these fees with you if you guys want to, but this is the fee structure. So right now on the bottom, our fee structure for number 1 on page 2 is different. This is the current one. This is not the current one. So this needs to be, the revision needs to be in the bylaws to reflect that.
And this is two different things. You can approve things in the budget, but this is policies and procedures, this isn't the budget.
Right.
So in the full transparent, there are two things we're doing here tonight. In full transparency, in a public meeting, on camera, we're approving these fees. Then we will be approving them.
These fees have been approved already.
Okay, but we're putting them, we're changing the policies and procedures so that they are accurately reflected.
Moving these from here to here.
Yep.
Because my point was, I thought we talked about these at budget time.
Well,
Didn't we?
at budget time is when we say, okay, well, we need to increase our revenue. How are we gonna do that? Okay, well, let's look at the fees. What fees do we want to increase, or what do we want to decrease?
Yeah.
That's the time this plays a role.
That's my point.
But
So
right
that's-
now, this is not in here.
I 100% get that, that's not my question. But the
Okay.
question was, have these been approved?
And he's saying yes,
Yes,
they
they've been,
have.
And that's my point was, we would approve it during budget.
Well, no, you
That's what we
could-
did,
Well,
as you just explained. When we look at the
Jolene?
budget, right, didn't you just share that though?
Jolene, can I explain how I run things as a former administrator?
Yeah.
We won't be approving any fee increases in the budget. We will approve them separately, and then they'll go in the budget, and we will approve the budget, because for me, that's transparency. So you may have done it in the budget before, but we're not gonna do that anymore. It is a change for you.
We didn't do these in the budget, we've always done them.
we've always done them separately, but we've done them around budget time, because that's when we're looking for money.
I'm not
So-
advocating for a change here.
Okay.
I was just stating that I think we approved these at the time when we were talking about budget for that very reason. And so it is a part of our, I was just saying, I think
Okay.
it is a part of our process. And if it's not, we can improve it. We can improve that. So I just want to,
The fee structure plays a role in the budget.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But it's talked about at budget time or in the middle of the year, it's talked about.
Sure.
Whenever we think that
Sure.
fees should be increased or not. So, all we're looking to do right now, all Ellen wants to do right now is get this into the policy, so it's in there, and then when budget time comes around, if we need to increase the budget or whatever, we have to look at the fees. Am I,
Well, hold your horses. I think then we don't go to a reprint for policies and procedures until after we do the budget. We approve these tonight and they're inserted as an addendum to this. Because I don't want to go to print with something we may change in another month,
correct?
okay?
I personally, as a chief, I don't see these changing. We already charge our residents enough. I don't see, my recommendation is, I'm not gonna, honestly, we increased our inspection fees last year.
Okay.
I don't see us doing it again.
What's the total amount of revenue that you get from the inspection fees? It was listed in here.
I don't have that right in
Okay.
front of me.
If you could bring that to the next meeting, I guess I would like to know response fee total for year-to-date for 2022, as well as fire prevention duties and fire inspections. So 3 different breakdowns of year-to-date revenue for those fees.
For, okay,
Okay?
yeah.
Because that'll help us understand budgeting and what we need to bring in for those fees. But tonight, as I understand it, we're going to approve amending the policies and procedures to include the already approved Ripon Area Fire District fee structure.
That's all I thought we wanted to do.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. I move to approve amending bylaws.
Yeah, the policies and procedures.
Move to approve amending the policies and procedures fee schedule to reflect the accurate fee schedule.
Works.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
I just want to add, for the sake of, this being recorded, that I always stand for, hopefully, in my public service, for full transparency and as most transparent as it can be as a public servant. So I just want to clarify, it sounded like, you were saying that you stand for transparency and that maybe hasn't. I just want to point out that I also
Yes, you do.
stand for transparency.
Yes, you do, Jolene, more so than most people I know.
Can we
Let's see.
go to the next one then?
I think we have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gary, did you
I
have
have
a
one more
question?
question.
Yeah.
On one of the things, what's a fire out investigation?
So that, let me find it. Where do you see that? Oh, here.
Under response fee.
Yeah, so if somebody has a fire and it's out, but we go there and we have to do something anyway, whether it's up against the wall or it's a business that has a large manufacturer in town who has a fire and it's out, that's a call for us. It's a
Okay.
different fee because.
So
let me
there's not a
finish.
$500, there's a $100.
Correct.
Or is it a 5 and a 100?
Because that's, yes. Each one is a different, it's specific to that call. So if we have a fire, if you have a fire in your house and they call and they say, hey, we had a fire in our house, but we think it's out. Well, it's not out until we think it's out, right? So if we go there and the fire's out, we're gonna recoup some of our costs. Because we just
But it's
paid out.
$100, it's not $600.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. If you call and you say my house is on fire, that's $500.
Well, an easy one would be, your pasture starts on fire, you're burning some brush, and they call up because they think it's getting away, and by the time you get there, it's out, it's $100. That
Not
would be-
necessarily, if you intentionally set that fire, then there's a different fee structure
Correct.
for that.
Well, then it's, yeah, but if you call, it's not.
If you call and say you have a controlled burn, that's a different situation. But if a
That's what I'm
controlled
saying.
burn gets out of hand, and you call and say my fire's out of control,
But if it's out when you get there, then it's $100.
Every situation, we could give situations all night long. The other day, we had a grass fire, right? Got called for a grass fire. Nobody called and told us they were burning. We went there, we put it out, we didn't charge anybody for that call. Why? Why was that? Because when we went there, nobody lit the fire. It was in the ditch, somebody probably threw a cigarette, so there is nobody. Normally, we would charge for that, but there is nobody to charge and there's no reason to charge. Follow me? So,
I get you, but, and I've gone through these, as you well know,
I'm
many
very,
times, because some of this doesn't make sense to me, that's all.
We go to a gas leak, a residential gas leak, there's a fee in here, right? Or we go to a residential gas leak in the town of Ripon, and the person didn't call, didn't really want us, but the daughter called, and we didn't charge that person, because it was her house, she really didn't want us. We helped her, but she didn't call, so we didn't charge her.
I was just curious because I didn't know what that was.
Okay,
And, you know, and you're right, if you go out there with the fire trucks, then should get something out of it.
and we don't do that all the time. We don't get,
Right.
Men and women.
we don't do that all the time. I mean, there's calls we don't charge for, there's calls we do.
Yeah.
When it's happening. So, and we have discretion, we have to have some discretion.
Yep.
Can't be black and white.
Any other questions for the chief? If not, I'm gonna have you vote. All those in favor of amending the policies and procedures for Jonathan's motion and Jolene's second, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those,
Aye.
it's always the disembodied voice. Those opposed, same sign. Okey dokey, we've approved that. Now I think you have another
So,
one for
let me
us.
just keep going. On page number 2, on the bottom where it says inspections, re-inspections, that's all correct. Turn to page number 3. I'm sorry, hold on, make sure.
The numbers of the pages duplicate themselves, it looks like.
Page 5 on mine.
Yeah, it goes from 2 to 5, then it goes to 3, then it goes to 4.
Okay, I didn't put this together, I'm sorry. A business put it together. So, on page number 3, where it says fire alarms, page number 3, number 1. Right? Again, refer to the structure. Or refer to the fee structure. Up on the top, under response fees, you're gonna see fire alarm is $50. The smoke alarm, same reason, after the third time is $150. So if we go to an alarm somewhere, let's say an apartment complex. Let's say we go to an alarm in an apartment complex, and it's a faulty detector, right? It's $50. If we go back again, it's $50 for the same thing. If we go back again, it's $150 every time thereafter we go back for that, because we're forcing them to repair their system, okay? We don't want to be taken advantage of. So this doesn't really reflect, this really doesn't reflect that, because the first fire alarm is $50, and so on and so forth. So the fee structure needs to go for the fire alarms also. The fee structure, I don't know an easy way to do it. We need to.
Fee structure has to be adopted to each of the different services that we are in this. So there's 5 different pages here. Each one will either be updated or not updated off of the fee structure that you've gotten tonight. And then there'll be an addition to some of the fee structures that may not be in the handbook or in the policy manual that were added that are separate, and those are going to be primarily the inspection ones, right?
Well, fire prevention.
Prior prevention, excuse me.
Correct. So I think an easier way to say this is to approve the revision of the fee structure to be put into the bylaws.
Okay, I'm gonna just share with everybody, once we make these approvals, we'll post them publicly, and then in 30 days, we'll do a final approval.
Great.
Okay. So, say what you're recommending on page 3.
On page 3, where it says first fire alarm, should be $50.
Right.
The second fire alarm should be $50. And the third fire alarm should be $50. After that, it should be $150 per fire alarm, for the same reason.
Now, have you approved this one in the past?
Yes.
So this is just cleaning this up?
All these fees have been approved
Okay.
by this board. I have not
Okay,
instituted
but
any fees.
because we're changing the policies and procedures and bylaws, they do have to be posted publicly.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Well, how about, so I just did the other motion, I'll do it again. How about, I move to approve pages 1 through 5 of the fee schedule
There you go.
reflect the current fee structure that
There
was
you go.
already approved by the board. Does that cover it?
I think so. Does that work
What
for you?
what was our previous
Yes.
motion?
It was just approved one, we could have done all of them at once, and we
Yeah.
didn't. And I actually prefer to do
Okay.
what Jonathan's
Good.
doing. Okay, so that takes us through page 5. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, so my question for you, Chief, is can somebody drop these into what would look like,
Yes.
okay, and then we have to get it out, so we have 30 days, and there's 31 days in August. So if we post later this week, we'll still have enough time to approve at the September 6th meeting.
Okay.
Who seconded?
Jolene,
Jolene,
Okay, thank you.
are there any other questions?
my only point of asking what the previous motion to rehear it again is because wasn't it just, to update the policies and procedures
Well,
of our
yeah, so
current
my-
fee
my-
structure?
My previous motion was to.
You didn't
take-
specify a page number, did you?
I didn't, but I said fire inspections,
Mhm.
which is what we were talking about.
Yes, okay, so this is good.
This
Okay, yep.
This is
Yep.
covering all of it. It's
Yep.
it's redundant, and
Yep.
it just overrides
Correct.
what I said.
Yep, yep, I like it. So if there are no more questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Those opposed, same sign. Okey dokey. Now we'll go on to the employment policies.
So the employment policy on page
Eight,
Page 8.
eligibility.
Thank you. Yes. Page 8, there were two things in there that need to be addressed. The,
Miscellaneous.
Yeah, I think so.
Number 1 is a United States citizen. I believe you wanted to change the documentation to indicate or have legal documentation.
correct. Or have legal, documented legally able to work, correct?
Just say legal documentation.
Okay, yeah, to add that to it.
Yeah.
And then on number 5, we took out, and this reflects that live within the municipal boundaries of the municipal fire department that comprise a fire district, or within 7 miles. We did remove that when we hired our part-time and paid on-premise employees, and this was the term sheet that reflected that change.
So you want to remove that in just number 1 through 5?
I want to remove number 5.
Right.
Because that's reflected in this policy.
And add number 1.
Yes, a United States citizen or have legal documentation.
oh, and you don't have to be more, you don't have to clarify that more. I mean, legal documentation of what? That's implied, I guess?
Well, it could be a work visa, it
Yeah.
could be it's easier if we say legal documentation because we don't know if they're applying for citizenship
Right.
and if they're going
Right.
through the process for citizenship, or if they're here on a work visa, or if they're here on a student visa.
Or a permanent resident,
Pardon?
or a permanent
Correct,
resident.
correct.
I think that covers,
I
a
think it's,
blanket.
yeah, I think it's better to keep it open so that they don't get stuck in any sort of problem.
Right.
So,
Just a question, with I just don't know the answer. With Wisconsin driver's license in there, do you need number 1? Like, can you get a Wisconsin driver's license if you don't have legal documentation?
yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, you can, basically what you have to do is, I think, have a social security card, or you just have you show that you've been a permanent resident, so you bring bills you know, and things like that.
We have to keep United States citizen because I've got tangled up in too many people who come in on student visas and let them lapse. And then they're here basically illegally, and they have no work permit or anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's why I keep saying legal documentation, because it could be almost anything. So is there a motion to add the language, legal documentation to policy 2.4A sub 1? And to remove section number 5 and renumber the section?
I'll move.
Jonathan, thank you. And is there a second? Mike Wargula seconded it. Are there any other questions? Does this give you everything you need, Chief, for this?
Yep.
Is it worth, I mean, we have a lawyer for our fire district.
He'll look them over.
Right, I mean, doesn't it make sense to just consult and say,
He's already reviewed these.
what is
I think what
legal, whatever legal term, what is typical right now to be said
Correct.
for number 1?
Correct. He reviewed them last week.
And he recommended a United States citizen or, legal documentation, period? Okay, well, that's helpful to know.
Yeah, no, he was here, so I thought, well, I might as well use them.
Good.
We're paying him by the hour anyway, so I handed it to him and he reviewed it.
Great.
And that's the way the original one was done as well. It was done with the lawyer, and it was done by the board with my assistance at that time,
Okay.
because we were in between.
Yeah, Jim Macy reviewed it last week.
Great.
Good point though, Jolene. Okay, are there any other questions?
That's all I have.
Okay, I will ask folks.
One thing here.
Okay, Gary?
18 years of age, didn't we change that?
Is there something under the cadet program that was adopted?
Can't you be a fireman at
if a-
17 if you take your,
If a cadet, yes. I believe, I'd have to look at the cadet policy.
I'd have to look it up
A
too, but I
cadet,
thought we.
so if a
could-
cadet comes in at 15 and
be a
he
fireman
stays with
at
the
17.
program, then we can send him for fire school at 16, and then he can come on at 17.
Right.
Otherwise, it's 18.
But, do we need to change that then? As long as we're changing, I mean,
That's something I guess I'd have
if
to.
it's wrong, I wouldn't have caught it, but I'm looking and
I
I'm
think I'd have to
thinking,
ask the attorney that, because we're talking
Yeah.
two different, we're talking a firefighter, we're talking a firefighter coming through a cadet program.
Yeah, and he didn't see that, he didn't review that last week.
Right. But I know we went through this last year, wasn't it, or the year before?
2 years ago. Well, maybe even 3 years ago, actually.
It was
'Cause I was sick the year before, I wasn't the year before.
Yeah, you were still
I
there.
think Joel was.
Which
Yeah.
also means they don't have to be a high school graduate.
Correct. That was the one thing I was looking at, but
But I was sharp enough to catch it. I just want you to know that.
I think we're talking two different.
I think we're talking two different things though, because there's a
Yeah.
cadet program that won't have the same
I know, I'm just saying if
Could
we're,
we add language for the cadet program in here?
potentially, yeah, I think you
So
should,
we
yeah.
we
It
could
should be in the
leave
one
it-
spot then,
We
yeah.
could leave it and then have them write a whole section on the cadet program and have Jim take a look at that.
and that's okay, I just figured if we're changing policy 2.4, if we change that one, we still got 2 more things that are wrong.
We
So-
can add another section to it.
We could do
I already, there is already a thing for the cadet program, so I can just add that to it.
Okay, we'll do that, I'll put that on the agenda for next meeting, cadet program.
It may take a lot of time, but
It's okay. Anything else from anybody? If not, I'll have everybody vote on the changes to 1 and removal of 5 and renumbering. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Thank you, Doug. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
When we talk about the bylaws though, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed in here. But I think that if we take, tonight we did pages 1 through 5. The next meeting we can take page 8 or
Sure.
10 or whatever.
Sure.
And clean that one up and
Sure.
then just make its way through. We've talked about doing that for a long time.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. So, board discussion, communication, I think we did a lot of that tonight. Is there anything anybody wants to maybe bring up that we need to discuss? The agenda items for future meeting, I have, we'll do policies and procedures again, cadet program for sure, right, Chief? And we'll do a final approval on this stuff. We'll talk about in the capital improvement plan specifically, that number 11 truck. I guess that's the number. Is there anything else that I have to add?
Do you have in there the strategic plan discussion?
Oh, we'll put, thank you, RFP discussion. Because he'll bring back the RFP for us, or we should hopefully get it ahead of time. And our next regular meeting is September 6th at 7 p.m.
Oh, and are we discussing our next?
We may have a closed session on Tuesday,
When do we discuss that?
but there was a time, and Barry doesn't want to come. I can't bring my calendar up. We're free on Tuesday.
7 could work for me. That one. So because our city council's moved to Wednesday, right?
Yeah, because of election day, I guess.
So Tuesday at what time?
What time works for you all?
7 could work for me. I don't particularly like, if someone here wanted to volunteer at the election, you know, that we're in. But this is not a time for public comment anyways also, so we're not limiting
Right,
someone
it's
to
just
come.
closed
Yep.
session. I'm hoping that's like 15 minutes. Well, no, but the chief and the deputy chief will also speak in closed session.
So 7 does work for me.
Does that work for everybody?
7?
Okay. Barry?
Sure.
Barry says he's gonna be gone. Doug, does that work for you?
what time?
7
Tuesday.
Yeah, that's fine.
on Tuesday,
August 9th.
Yeah,
because our council meeting is moved to Wednesday.
right.
Okay, alrighty. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Gary. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I.
Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.